Good morning, student. And now we are proceeding towards the next module, module number 5, that is the optical detectors. So let's see what is optical detector. The contents of this particular module is divided into 7 units. So in this lecture, we will be learning the first 3 units, that is the working principle of photodetectors, the characteristic of the two photodetectors which are prescribed in your syllabus, and the noise analysis of these photodetectors. The objectives of these particular topics are: you will be able to list the important performance criteria of photodetectors, explain the working principle of photoabsorption and photogeneration, describe the working of the two photodiodes PIN and avalanche photodiode, define their figure of merits. Then you will be able to calculate the numericals based on this figure of merits such as optical responsivity and quantum efficiency. Also, you will be able to plot the responsivity characteristic. Now let's have a look at the optical communication system. So as you see here, student, the signal which comes from the optical transmitters travels along a long optical cable and reaches at the optical receiver. And in the optical receiver, we can see the photodetectors are placed in the front so that the received signal which is in the optical form, it should be able to convert back into the electrical form, and then the further circuitry demodulates it and gives us in the original form. So photodetectors, as seen in the receiver block diagram, are very important because the entire receiver's operation is based on how efficiently the photodetector does the photo conversion. These are the requirement of photodetectors. First, it should be highly sensitive. Why? Because as you understood now from the previous slide, that the incoming signal, the input signal at the photodetector is too low in its power. It is generally in the range of microwatts. So it should be able to convert it. Then whatever the incoming power coming to the optical detector, it should be able to reproduce it faithfully, so high fidelity. Going to the third parameter, it should have a very short time response to obtain a suitable bandwidth. Then the photodetector should produce minimum noise in the optical receiver. Next, as the optical receiver may be operated over a large wavelength, also over a longer time, the photodetectors which will be used in the optical receiver should work with the equal performance over the large time. So they should be highly stable. Then these all the circuitry or the photodetectors are too small in size, so their biasing voltages also should be low. The photodetector should be highly reliable. Then their size should be small because photodetectors are connected with the optical fibers, so their sizes should be compatible to each other. And of course, the most important criteria is the cost. So cost should be affordable. It should be as low as possible. Let's have a look at the types of the photodetectors. So as you can see, we get three types of photodetectors: photodiodes, photoconductors and phototransistor. But our syllabus includes only the photodiodes, and in these photodiodes also particularly the PN diodes, PIN photodiodes and avalanche photodiodes. So let's start with the understanding of the working of photodiodes. So here you can see a diagram wherein a PIN photodiode is connected into a reverse bias so that a large depletion region is formed onto the interface. Now when the optical light will incident as shown over here in the form of optical photons with the energy larger than the bandgap of this particular PN photodiode, the photons will be absorbed and equivalent photocarriers will be generated. As you can see here, holes and electrons. And if a proper electric field is created across the depletion region, these photocarriers will sweep and will start flowing towards the ends as shown over here, and a photocurrent starts generated in the external circuit. So this is the basic principle of working of a photodiode. So here we understand one important thing, that for optical absorption to take place in this photodiode, the material which we use should have a band gap that such that the energy in the optical photon should be larger than it, where Eg is the bandgap of the material and Hf is the energy of the falling photons. So, in optical detection, it is very important to select a proper material whose bandgap energy should satisfy this equation, then only the optical absorption will be possible. This is a list of few of the materials and their band gap, the direct band gap. In optical detection, we can use both direct and indirect band gap materials. So depending on which material you choose, you have to decide the operating wavelength of the photodiode and you can use it accordingly. So let's understand in detail the optical absorption principle and the corresponding terminologies. So here let us consider a slab, a semiconductor material which is located along the x direction, and consider the falling optical beam has the power P naught and entering from the left side. Now, due to some reflection taking place on this interface, there will be a small fraction of power reflected back, and the power that will be absorbed will be equivalent to the P naught into 1 minus R. And as you see, student, as this optical beam enters this semiconductor material, and as it travels propagates inside it, its power goes on reducing and in an exponential manner. So we can express it mathematically, the power which is absorbed along the direction of the the semiconductor material is decaying exponentially. So minus alpha x, where alpha is the absorption coefficient of that particular material. Hence, we can write the optical power absorbed as P naught into 1 minus R into exponential of minus alpha into x. So, with the direction, with the depth or with the increasing direction, the power absorbed inside the semiconductor goes on reducing. Now, this power which is absorbed is like the photons. Now, if I consider the idealistic condition such that for every falling photon, a equivalent electron hole pair is generated, then I can get the expression for the photocurrent by multiplying the power absorbed by the electron charge divided by the energy in one photon. So we get the expression for the photocurrent that is shown over here. And if you look at this expression carefully, we understand the photocurrent which is generated because of optical absorption is strongly dependent on the what type of material we use and its absorption coefficient and the the operating wavelength. Let's have a look at the optical absorption coefficient of the various materials along with the operating wavelength. Now, as we studied, mostly the optical detectors are operated in the third window, that is from the 1100 nanometer to 1550 nanometer. You can see now, for example, consider a particular material, silicon, whose optical absorption goes on varying with the wavelength, and at a particular wavelength you can see it has gone zero. It means what? After this wavelength, which is called as cutoff wavelength, in a photodetector made up of silicon material, no photo absorption will take place. So you won't be able to operate a photodetector made up of silicon material. And this is how, student, you can check the cutoff frequency or the cutoff wavelength for the different materials, and on this basis we can select the appropriate material depending on our requirement. On the right side you can see the light penetration depth proportional to this absorption coefficient. I hope you understood how optical absorption takes place, how it goes on reducing exponentially, and what do you mean by cutoff wavelength. So this tells us that whenever we select a particular photodetector, we need to consider the material and its band gap and its operating wavelength. So let's move on with this understanding. So please take down all these things, the expression for the photocurrent and the all the terms included in this expression. Let's have a small quiz onto it. Suppose the photocurrent in a photodiode is exponentially proportional to absorption coefficient state, whether the given statement is true or false. So as we saw in the previous expression, you can answer this question. Yes, the answer is true. The absorption of photons produces carrier pairs, but this absorption takes place exponentially as can be seen from the expression for the photocurrent. Now, let's have the understanding of few of the performance parameters of the photodetectors. Now, as seen in this expression for the photocurrent, the generation of photocurrent depends on the falling power P naught, the reflection coefficient, also the absorption coefficient, or if you look at in the second expression, it is also proportional to the operating wavelength. And if student, I take the ratio of the photocurrent to the input power, I can calculate some transfer characteristic. And this is how, for analyzing the operation of a photodetector, we can define few of the figure of merits. And those are the cutoff wavelength, quantum efficiency, responsivity, and the dark current. So let's start with the definition of cutoff wavelength. So as I explained in the optical absorption process also, for any particular semiconductor which that can absorb the photon over a limited wavelength range, the highest wavelength is known as cutoff wavelength, and beyond this cutoff wavelength no absorption will take place and no photogeneration will take place in that semiconductor material. So this cutoff wavelength is determined by the bandgap energy of that particular material, and hence we can write the expression for the cutoff wavelength as lambda c equals to Sc upon Eg. If I substitute the values of the constant, Planck's constant and the speed of light, it can be simplified to a expression that shows the wavelength in micrometer equals to 1.24 upon the bandgap of the material, where the bandgap of the material Eg is specified in electron volt. Let's have a one numerical based on the cutoff wavelength. So here we have a gallium arsenide which has a band gap of 1.43 electron volt at 300 K. Determine the wavelength above which the intrinsic photodetector fabricated from this material will cease to operate. So we have the expression for cutoff wavelength, that is lambda is equal to Sc upon Eg. You substitute the values and you can get your answer as the 0.867 micrometer. So this is how, student, you can calculate the cutoff wavelength of a particular photodetector by knowing which semiconductor material is used in it. Now let's move on to the next figure of merit, that is the quantum efficiency. Quantum efficiency eta can be defined as the number of whole electron hole carrier pairs generated per incident absorbed photons which are absorbed by the photodetector. Means what? As now we understood the process of optical absorption, when an optical beam falls, the photons get absorbed, and depending on how many photons are absorbed and equivalent electron hole pairs are generated, we can find out the efficiency. Why? The efficiency is less than 100%, yes, student, because the number of electron hole pairs generated because of the falling photons are not 1 to 1. Depending on my material properties, the trap densities or some um, impurities in the semiconductor material, not all the absorbed photons are converted into the photocarriers, and hence, student, it becomes very important to learn the efficiency of the photodetectors, and we get the expression for the quantum efficiency of photodetector as the number of electrons collected upon the number of incident photons, and it is written as the rate at which photons are falling and the rate at which the corresponding electrons are generated. This quantum efficiency, student, generally is less than 1 or 100 for any particular photodetector. Also, it is very important to note that the quantum efficiency is always stated in the percentage. And as we understood, the optical absorption is wavelength specific for any photodetector. So, the quantum efficiency is always specified at the operating wavelength or the specific wavelength. So, based on this equation, let's solve one small problem. Now here you have to determine the quantum efficiency if the incident photons on photodiodes are 4 into 10 raised to 11 and the electrons collected at the terminal are 1.5 into 10 raised to 11. So you can easily calculate the quantum efficiency by taking the ratio of 1.5 into 10 raised to 11 upon 4 into 10 raised to 11. Now, as I said, the quantum efficiency is stated in the percentage. You will see the options shown where the efficiencies are provided in the percentage. So, right, your answer is B if you take the ratio, and this is how it is calculated. Let's move on to the next definition, that is the responsivity. The responsivity of any detector, as I said, can be defined as the ratio of the generated photocurrent to the total amount of optical power incident onto the detector. So we get an expression for responsivity as the photocurrent upon P naught and having the unit amperes per watt. This photocurrent IP is in the external circuit and P naught is the incident power. This responsivity is a very useful parameter as it gives the transfer characteristic of a particular photodetector. Now, let us have the further derivation for the expression of responsivity in terms of the falling power and the operating wavelength. So, as we understood from the definition of quantum efficiency, the incident photon rate Rp I can write now in terms of the optical power and energy. So we can write the Rp equals to P naught upon the energy in the photon. So we get an expression further as P naught upon Hf. The electron rate can be written as eta into Rp from the expression of quantum efficiency. Now if we substitute the expression for the photon rate in this expression, we get the electron rate equals to eta into P naught upon Hf. Therefore, the output photocurrent becomes eta into P naught upon Hf multiplied by the electron charge. Thus, the responsivity can be defined now as Ip upon P naught equals to eta E into Hf. This is a very important relationship for responsivity because now I can look at the how the responsivity is dependent on the operating wavelength and the quantum efficiency. This expression for responsivity can be further expressed in terms of wavelength by substituting the expression for the frequency as c by lambda, and we get the final expression for the responsivity that is equals to eta into E into lambda upon Hc. These are the plots for the transfer characteristic, I mean the responsivity with respect to the wavelength. Ideally seen, if I go back to the expression for responsivity varies directly with the operating wavelength. It also varies proportional to the quantum efficiency. So, as seen in the first plot, the responsivity plot for ideal photodiode is linear. It should change linearly with the increasing wavelength. But if you see the practical responsivity plot for a particular photodiode, the responsivity is increasing linearly and after a certain frequency it starts falling off and it goes zero. Why is it so? So here you have to recall the optical absorption process. In optical absorption process, we understood the optical absorption is cutoff wavelength specific. Means what? For that particular photo detector, what material I am using, and depending on that material's cutoff wavelength, the absorption will either take place or will stop. So depending on the material, after its cutoff wavelength, as there won't be any absorption, there will be no photogeneration, and hence student responsivity starts falling down and it becomes zero at the cutoff wavelength. Along with a comparative responsivity plot is shown for three materials, that is silicon, germanium and indium gallium arsenide. So as you can see over here, the silicon with its band gap 1.42 electron volt, you can see the responsivity is varying from 0 to 1.1, is varying over the wavelength over 0 to 1.1. Now let's have the look at the responsivity plots at the higher wavelength. So you can see germanium has a responsivity that varies over a larger wavelength up to close to 1600. But if you look at a material that is a ternary material, indium gallium arsenide, whose cutoff wavelength is high, gives us a quite large bandwidth, sorry, a high spectral responsivity. So you have, I hope you would have understood why responsivity is very important in any photodetector and how it varies with the operating wavelength. Now in today's lecture we will stop over here and we will continue in the next lecture with the numericals based on the responsivity. So bye.